Hi, this is Tamar Peters, and I am thrilled today to be interviewing the wonderful, very talented, renowned animal communicator, Kate Solisti. Kate will be joining us on our wonderful adventure to Kenya again this year after our great success we had in 2018. So really the purpose of our conversation today is just so that people can get to know a little bit more, Kate, about who you are and what you do. And then I have some specific questions that I think that our audience would be very interested to hear your point of view on. So I'm going to hand over to you just to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and especially regarding your passion, which is animal communication, and specifically for wildlife.
Thanks, Tamar. I always love being here with you and sharing this. This is, for both of us, so where our hearts live. And yes, I have been a professional animal communicator for over 25 years. And in that time, of course, I help people with their beloved companion animals: dogs, cats, horses, bunnies, birds, turtles, snakes, everybody. But one of the things that I have just taken so much joy in over the years is bringing through the voices of the wild ones. All kinds of creatures. I really started my career in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And there we had some fascinating desert dwelling beings like snakes and, of course, coyotes and owls and birds of prey. And I started listening to their messages and became a really passionate advocate for sharing the wisdom of these beings. So last year, when you invited me to go to Africa and meet the baby elephants of the Sheldrick Trust, I burst into tears because it was totally a dream come true for me to be with the animals in Africa, in their homeland. In our world, in America and Europe and, in most places, animals have to enter into our space. Mm-hmm. But in Africa, mm-hmm. we are entering into theirs. And the energy of that is palpable mm-hmm. and beautiful. And they are relaxed and they are who they are themselves. And it's magical. So that, I know I didn't talk much about me, but that's what I love. And yes, I've written books. And yes, I love to write and speak and all that. But because we're going back to Africa, mm-hmm. I am just, again, over the moon excited about our trip and what we learned last year so that we can make this trip even better.
Absolutely. And here's the thing for me, that I'm still trying to get my head around, even though my heart knows probably the answer to it. But it's the communicating with wildlife. Why do you think humans, especially right now going through this massive shift in consciousness, the chaos that the world is really in at the moment, why communing with wildlife is so important? Compared to, it's wonderful to communicate with our domestic animals and, of course, each other at a deeper level. But why do you think that what we're receiving from wildlife when they commune with us and when they share messages is so important for humanity?
It's not only important, it's essential. It's essential to hear from them because their connection with Mother Earth, with the elements, is so much deeper than ours. And I believe we're in the mess we're in because, and again, I keep hearing the animals say this, is because of our separation that we've created from the natural world, because of our disconnection. And we continue to make decisions that are really dangerous to ourselves and every living being on the planet.
Right.
And so in the communications I've received from elephants and whales and lions and alpacas and all manner of octopus and ray and turtle and on, is they are here when they come to talk to us. They want to help restore our connection to them, to help us see them as family, as wisdom keepers. Mm-hmm. They have so much that they know that we desperately need to know. and not put ourselves on this pedestal that say, oh, we know everything and we are the smartest beings on the planet. No, because if we were the smartest beings on the planet, we would not be destroying our planet and creating a sixth extinction that is much, it's too much, mostly because of our activities and our disconnection. So that's why it's not only important, it's essential that we listen. What do the polar bears need to teach us about the melting of the ice caps, and the penguins who are so deeply affected by these changes? And the whales can teach us some of what we need to do to shift that. What if we listen?
Yeah. It is really interesting, because I do find that the communications I've had with them, there are a couple of things. Firstly, they tend to be very compassionate. And in fact, they're more concerned about us as a species, or an animal species, than necessarily themselves. Yes, there are those that are very aware of their existence is diminishing, particularly those that are going extinct. And so they have a slightly different message. But generally, the first thing that I pick up from them is their immense love and compassion. First of all, for understanding that human beings are so destructive. And some, of course, some are intentionally, but a lot of it is a deep unawareness because of the disconnect with nature and, of course, them. And so they have a lot of compassion and empathy and understanding that most of us are not doing it on purpose. We're just so disconnected. We've become so unaware of our footprint, and that everything that we do obviously has long-term consequences. And of course, with money being at the forefront of our society, the way we think, everything that we do, it has taken us more and more away from nature. That's the first element. And then the second one is that they because they are so connected to source, to the universe, to nature, they're so entwined and integrated with keeping the harmony and the balance of nature that, like you say, they are the wisdom keepers to remind us. It's not like we don't know. It's more of we've forgotten, or our focus has been elsewhere, and they're kind of reminding us of the fact that we're part of their ecosystem. We're not separate from them. And we're the only species that tends to make so much massive damage to the planet. So we take more than what we give. And for me, that's what I find really fascinating, is the opportunity for us to hear what we already know, but have forgotten almost.
Oh, exactly. It is about forgetting, that we've forgotten, and they are. I have never had any of the species I've spoken to say, oh, you people are lost cause. Just, do whatever you're going to do. Get off the planet, whatever. No, they never do that. They feel so much compassion for us, like a little child that's having a temper tantrum and like destroying their room.
Yeah.
Don't go in there and say, get out of this house, you slob. If you're a loving parent, if you're a loving sibling, you say, oh boy, something's wrong. And how do we help you come back to love, come back to source and balance?
Yeah.
That's what they want for all of us, or for those of us who are willing to remember. And I think more and more people are awakening and remembering. There are tremendous shifts happening on the planet. We hear about all the terrible things that humans are doing, but there's so many good things that are happening with people who are waking up. There's compassionate capitalism being thrown around for the first time in the last few years. This is so critical, because we have to find a way that, again, creates a system for all beings on Mother Earth to survive and thrive. That's the task in front of us, and that's a glorious opportunity.
Yeah. I think, and it's one of the things, as part of the Sacred Wildlife Project and as part of my Avatar adventures, I'm always very keen to share all the positive news. Very seldom I'll share negative news. and it's mainly because there's so much negative news and people keep perpetuating the negative news.
Right.
Whereas I want to perpetuate all the positive news because there is tons of it. It just doesn't get the major media coverage that all the bad news is. And that is something about our own psyche as a society that we really need to look at.
Yep.
Here's an interesting question. What do you believe is the main difference between communicating with, say, domestic animals compared to communicating with wildlife? Because, of course, they're in very different environments and situations, and they're coming from a different point of view. Now, one is, I assume, much more about survival, whereas the others are quite domesticated into the human way of existing and living. So if you could share some ideas about that, that would be really helpful.
Absolutely. It's you're still using your intuitive muscle, your heart connection. Mm-hmm. What I found with in the connection process to domestic animals, there is always, 99.9% of the time, an eagerness on their part to answer questions, to help us understand what they're thinking and feeling, what's wrong, what's not working, because they know their humans want to make it better or understand. With wild animals, because as you say, when our domestic animals live in our homes, live in our barns, so everything they do, they're interacting with us. Yeah. With wild animals, there, again, as I mentioned in the very beginning, what I love about Africa is we're entering into their space. Mm-hmm. So it does mean a different orientation. It's mm-hmm. not about, okay, give me these answers, and because I'm going to do this, 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 and this to solve this problem. It's a space of deep receiving, a mm-hmm. willingness to open to energies that are very different from ours, and also, I would say, a different level of patience. Mm-hmm. And a different level of, again, deep being, because we need to create a state in ourselves that's interesting to them, mm-hmm. which means we need to get out of our heads mm-hmm. completely mm-hmm. and into our hearts and into a space of relationship with them on their terms.
Yes.
Which means I need to create this lovely, open, clear space mm-hmm. so that I'm at something interesting to them. I'm not just another crazy, busy in my head human, because why bother having any connection with that? Yeah. Plenty of that to go around. Yeah. But a human who is in their heart, who has learned who could keep their energy calm and peaceful, is pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. And to go to a wild animal, and they of course feel safer with us mm-hmm. when we're in that position. Yeah. Because remember, humans are predators.
Yeah.
We are predators. So if we're going to be in the space with an impala or a zebra, we need to be in a space that's not threatening, that's not needy. Give me, talk to me. That's energy pushing out at them, and that's not going to work.
Yeah. We noticed that on our trip, especially with, tourists who are coming from a very different perspective,
right?
Normal safari goers who, really want the best photograph, shriek and trill and talking and loud, and of course appreciating, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's more that they really are pushing their energy out rather than holding their energy back and actually just connecting on a different level that isn't all about just sight or sound. It's more of a soul connection. It's more of a heart connection. And what I started to notice, and I think generally people who are coming from that energy aspect are starting to see that more wild animals are showing up for them or coming into or crossing their paths, because there's no doubt in my mind that there's an urgency in order to get as many human beings reconnected with nature and the land and the animals during this shift in consciousness. It will just help elevate that to a whole new level. And so, if everybody's out, trying to take the best photograph, talking a lot all the time, and not actually being in the present moment and actually being quiet and stilling themselves, and really appreciating the environment that they're in, I think that makes a significant difference. I mean, we saw it on our trip last year for sure.
And it is an awareness issue. And this is one of the things that I'm really excited that you and I are going to do on our trip this year. We're going to we're going to have a couple of pre-trip classes to teach people how to find within themselves that quiet space and how different that feels. And then when we're on our trip, we are going to take time after, I understand the first time we see the impalas or the elephants, people are going to want to take their pictures, but then we're going to stop. And we're going to really work with our energies as a group, because, of course, when we're in a group, whatever energy we're carrying is magnified.
Sure.
From an animal's perspective, if we're all, then it's magnified by 7. But if we're all peaceful, calm, and centered, and in a very loving space, that's magnified by 7,
right.
Which, as you say, makes us more interesting and approachable.
Absolutely.
By a wild animal who then might really be eager to share something with us that they wouldn't have even bothered to with people who are, in that other space. So the awareness is key. And we're really going to focus on that, shifting our awareness to not what we want, but how do we respect and honor the space they're in, and come to them or with them from that place, not from what we want, not from a grabby place, give me, but from a being place.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes our adventures truly unique, is bringing the aspect of the interspecies communing with the animals, but as well as, having a real appreciation for the land and for the people.
Yes.
Because we're all part of one ecosystem. And so, any safari is not just about going to see wild animals in Africa. It's also about truly understanding what's going on with the land, because there's a lot of conflict between growing population and the loss of environment for animals to be able to sustain themselves. One of the interesting predictions that I've become aware of is Nostradamus actually predicted that in 2019 we would be able to communicate with animals more effectively. It's very clear about that. Now, we're not too sure if he meant from a more scientific point of view, in other words, trying to break down the way that specific animal species communicate with each other. I actually think it's much more about us, because of that shift in consciousness, our vibrational levels getting higher and being able to tap into our telepathic and intuitive energies much more effectively now. And that just really opens the door to us being able to, all of us, every single human being, being able to, if we wanted to communicate with animals in a way that animals communicate, not in a way that humans think that animals should communicate.
Right.
I always laugh when, you see these cartoons on television and all the animals are speaking like humans. And I'm like, can you not, they don't move their mouth like that. Can you just keep his mouth like he would be normally and then just do it telepathically? Because that's actually how they communicate. So it's not like we don't already know that. But it's so funny, in particularly cartoon movies, they always make their mouths move as if they're speaking like a human. And it's always bothered me trying to understand, why would you want to use your mouth to communicate? Languages, and you think about this, if you can't speak a lot of different languages, your communication's quite stilted. Whereas, animals can, through telepathy, speak any animal language if you like. They may not know certain calls and sounds and so on, but they don't need to, because it's not relevant to their particular herd or particular species. They might recognize some of them. But to be able to talk without language, I think, is that higher level of communication.
Well, absolutely. And tribal peoples have done this always.
Yeah.
How do we think that tribal people learned about which herbs were medicinal versus poisonous?
Yeah.
Well, they communed with the plant kingdom. That's what shamans do. That's what medicine people do all over the world. It's not, again, it's not something that we've never done. It's something that we've stopped doing as we became, quote unquote, more civilized.
Absolutely.
And, so exactly, it's all about remembering and reorganizing ourselves to be quiet and present, just like you said. And that's what we're really going to do. That is, as you say, it's very different from any other trips that we're aware of that happen with wildlife. And for me, it's such a joy when I see the animals comfortable with humans, as opposed to like, they're always grabbing at me or they're always wanting something from me. That causes me pain, literally pain. And so I am so thrilled to be able to help our people on our trip find that space to be and see the results of an animal really who would have run away from them if they could have, go, you're very interesting. I like your energy. That's pretty cool.
So, one of the people on our trip last year who's coming on this trip again, Kathy, has this natural, and she's learned this through her photography, is really, being one with the environment, being very patient, being very still, pulling her energy in. And it helped her to take photographs that really express the essence of her particular subject matter, rather than just a great photograph of that subject. You can feel that there's a different level of appreciation in the pictures, and I think that's really exciting. So she's also going to be doing some training with everybody before we go on the event on just these basic techniques that we can bring into our amateur photography, whether it be on a phone or whether it be on a camera, of little things that can really help because of those nuances, those abilities to be much more aware of the environment, much more aware of what the behavior of the animal is. So it changes the dynamic that when we do get permission to take a photograph, and you should always ask permission to take a photograph, because think about it, as human beings, if somebody came up and just went click, click, click to you all the time, how would you feel? And so, it's really important for us to, have the same respect for animals. And I think if you come with the right energy and you come with the right understanding and appreciation, I've even seen some animals really show off once they know that they're being photographed.
And I think you make a really good point, because a wildlife photographer does learn how to really become one with the environment. And it's just one little baby step more to the telepathic connection.
Absolutely.
Because I would argue that a lot of these fantastic, BBC filmmakers and, some of these people that get these extraordinary photos of animals do it because they've actually gone into a sort of meditation, whether they were aware of it or not, and a request, or, asking, I come with love and respect, and I would be thrilled to share whatever you wish to share with us. I would love to share that with other humans if you're willing. And that's that's what we want to make conscious. Is let's make that conscious decision to do that. And Kathy's photography lesson's going to help with that. And, our classes that we do with the animal communication pieces, they're all connected. And that's again so exciting for me, because everybody who comes on our trip is going to have a very different energy around animals from that point on. They're going to absolutely feel the difference between people who are unconscious around animals, whatever animals, horses, alpacas, cows, dogs, cats, baby humans, who people just get in their face too, understand how their energy impacts another. And that is a life lesson. Isn't that a life lesson?
It definitely changes the way in which they see the world, the way in which they want to communicate. So we can see that it makes profound shifts on a personal level, and gives extra tools in, even relationship communication, whether it would be romantic or with family. because you're so much more aware of the environment, the impact that you're having, and so on. So it's a real, I call it edutourism rather than going on a safari. And that's really what we want to do is give people that real life-changing experience from the inside out, and a real appreciation for what can sometimes be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them.
Absolutely. That's perfect.
That's wonderful, Kate. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I'm so thrilled that you're coming back with us this year. And if anybody is interested in coming to join us on our elephant adventure, we've also got a dolphin adventure, which I'm about to launch too, which will be happening in, I think, August this year, so sooner than our elephant one. Please go to our website, which is www.myavataradventure.com, and you'll find all the details there. Otherwise, find us on Facebook. I'm under My Avatar Adventures, or Tamar Peters, or Kate Solisti, or the Sacred Wildlife Project. Thanks, Kate, again for your time. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to learning so much more on this trip, and excited for being able to share with everybody all the amazing experiences and interactions that we have with Kenya's amazing wildlife. So thank you.
Thank you, Tamar. I'm so excited to do this trip and share this and help all of our folks really shift their relationship with the land, with the people, with wildlife, in their lives, just like you say. It's really exciting.
Great. Thanks, darling. Take care, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.